Hi there, and welcome to Kuwait for part 4 of my groundbreaking series, Why I Decided to Fly Egyptair again. I just got off of a fantastic British Airways first flight, which I published a couple of months ago, linked in the description, and now I have a 7-hour layover in this lovely airport. My first instinct was to go outside for a little bit of fresh air, sunshine, but that was not really too successful. So I headed back inside and sat at a Starbucks for 4 hours as I waited for the Egyptair counters to open. I was originally supposed to be flying today with Kuwait Airways on their A330-800 in business class to Casablanca. A steal that I got for around $600, but it turned out to be too good to be true, with that flight being cancelled around a month prior to departure. This is now the second time that I've tried to fly them, and the second time that this has happened. Anyway, before we head towards check-in and get this ancient Egyptian journey started, let me welcome any of you that might be new to the channel. My name is Kevin. I'm here to give you a self-funded and honest look at some of the best, and some of the not-so-best, airlines and hotels in the world, which I've been bringing to you full-time for the past 4 years. Check out the hundreds of videos on the channel, scan the QR code, or click the link in the description to learn more about how I do things. A little bit of mild chaos begins now. The business class check-in agents were extremely friendly. We were flying a 777 today, and business class ended up being full, but they seemed to be swatting economy passengers away left and right, seemingly relieved to have someone turn up actually flying in business. I'll be honest, as with quite a few countries that I visit, I didn't really have any reason to be in Morocco on this particular trip, but the rest of the journey was already booked, so I stuck with it. Today I'll be flying Egyptair to Cairo, and then the next day on Royal Air Maroc to Marrakech via Casablanca. Kuwait's airport has 4 terminals, 3 of which are operational now. We're in the primary terminal, Terminal 1, which serves all non-Kuwaiti airlines. Terminal 5 is connected and serves Jazeera Airlines. Terminal 4 was opened in 2018 to relieve congestion, but only serves Kuwait Airlines. Finally, the long-delayed Foster's and Partners designed Terminal 2, which will solve their capacity problems for decades to come, is not slated to open until the end of 2026. I headed up to the deserted Pearl Lounge for a couple hours. Access was included with my ticket. It's kind of hard to overstate how accommodating and hospitable the staff in here were. For me and anyone else that came in after, they were all there at your beck and call in a very charming kind of way. If they saw you move an inch to get up to get anything, they'd come running over and ask, "What can we get for you?" After our gate was swapped around a half dozen times, they finally decided on 22, and a line formed to enter the secure area. Full security checks are done at the gates here. Security checks here are, shall we say, somewhere in between thorough and a half-rate full body massage. If only their window cleaning abilities were as detailed. I've covered Egyptair's history a couple of times in previous videos, but for today, I just want to focus on why I find them to be such a necessary, mediocre airline. It all comes down to the route network, their pricing, and in my case, their consistently reasonable business class availability via Air Canada's Aeroplan. Let's get on board and I'll discuss in the air. If you're enjoying the video and would like to support the channel, there are many ways that you can do so. A quick like on the video and subscription helps the videos with the algorithm. You could join my YouTube channel memberships to get early access to some videos and access to all of my community posts. Or you could check out my Patreon where I post the most and can help you out with any travel related questions. Whatever you do, thanks for doing it. Today we'll be flying on a 13-year-old 777-300ER, an aircraft which, along with their 787s, form the backbone of their long-haul fleet, with their A330s generally being used just for regional services. These 777s and the configuration in business class are generally why I don't consider flying Egyptair on long-haul flights. Specifically, the possibility that I would book a 787 flight and it would be swapped for this, much like this flight actually was, but for a short flight it doesn't matter. Their 787s are modern with reverse herringbone seats. These 777s are in a 2-3-2 pattern and are angle flat, or just angled. Mild chaos, which apparently is turning into my new favorite term, really does describe the boarding experience here. But I did get a greeting as I stepped on board in the midst of all of that. The business class cabin is in 2 parts, and I chose the bulkhead window seat in the smaller second cabin. When I sat down, I laughed a little bit to myself. Emirates, Turkish, and many other airlines offer 232 business class on 777s. The seat itself, given the dimensions of a 777, should be roomy, but I really don't understand why these seats are so narrow. Online resources say that they're 20 inches wide, which is standard, but if these seats are 20 inches wide, then all other business class seats out there are an inch wider than what's published. Of course, there's nothing particularly groundbreaking or offensive about the seat itself though, especially for this shorter flight. Since the in-flight entertainment monitors are in the elongated center armrest for the bulkhead seats, the legroom is literally endless. My seatmate was in angle flat mode from the second that we got in the air, and I didn't even need to really step over her legs to get out. The crew saw my backpack by my feet, which I was planning to put overhead. I asked if it was okay to just keep it there, and I was given a friendly smile along with an "I don't really care" tilt of the head. Unfortunately, no overhead air vents though, which for a desert carrier seems like lunacy. Luckily, once we were in the air, it did cool down quite a bit. A selection of juice boxes were passed out just before story time was about to begin. In-flight entertainment was limited, but it worked, and the moving map was clear enough. The in-flight meal service began, and it had to be the fastest service that I've ever seen in terms of getting the initial trays out to passengers. I was in the 5th row, and my tray was at my seats 20 minutes after takeoff. The choices for the main came around on a cart so we could see what everything was. The choices were chicken with pasta, salmon with rice, or beef with potato. I chose the chicken, which was a lesson in beige color theory. It looked like a chicken and pasta dish with the color saturation turned way down. Keep in mind, I chose this one over the other two, so you can just imagine what the other two options looked like. That said, it was a substantial portion, with 2 fillets and a heaping portion of just naked noodles. Not great, not offensive. Let's go for a 6.3 out of 10. Toilets on board were kept surprisingly clean, and were clean to begin with as well. If you're curious why it's surprising, check out my last Egyptair video. So as for why Egyptair is so useful and necessary is simply because of their network. Especially when you compare them to their counterparts in Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco, their network throughout Africa simply reaches more corners of this massive continent. That's not even to mention how much more connectivity they have in the Middle East and Europe. Even if you compare them to East and South African carriers, the same thing rings true. Ethiopian objectively serves more African destinations than anyone else. But they have an alarmingly massive gap in their coverage, which essentially covers all of Northern Africa, a region with over 220 million people, just in those 5 Mediterranean countries. Service on board was friendly but sharp. Growing up in and around New York, there's honestly something a bit familiar about the service style to me. Kinda like, let's sort of be friendly, get everything done as quick as physically possible, and then just enjoy the rest of the workday with nothing to do. And so, my overall thought about Egyptair I'd say slightly improved today. The aircraft itself was overall in pretty good condition, something that isn't universal with them. That said, I really can't imagine moving them up to a 6, even though my impression has improved ever so slightly, so let's just stay at a 5 for now. I have a love-hate relationship with arriving in Cairo. Every time I've landed, a bus gate is used. But also, there's something pretty special about getting off a 777 via dual stairs. time to head to the Le Méridien, which is attached to the terminal, which turned out to be an absolute delight for what it is. Easily the best airport hotel hospitality that I've ever encountered. So, I really do hope that you enjoyed this trip report today. If you did, please be sure to click the like button and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on my twice weekly content. I'll see you next time from right here. Happy to say that we are back to real chronological order with my flight reviews. Thanks as always for watching until the end.